Well, hello, and welcome to Christ Hunting. How are you doing, buddy?
Good man, how are you?
I'm good. So Noah, he works at North Grumman with me, and we were like, "Hey, you do fly fishing, so let's talk about it." Because dude, I suck at fishing in
And
general,
regular
and
fishing.
I'm looking over here. Yeah, well, just in general.
Yeah.
So you were over here, but my camera's up there. So yeah, so like I like suck, and so I wanted to talk to you to get like just chat about some things. I'm trying to bring up my thing. This thing is just ridiculous. No, you know, okay. So I'm terrible at fishing. Like I can't catch anything. It seems like when I was younger, we lived in the water, so I would just go down and I could catch like white perch and I could catch um, rockfish and I had a good time and a catfish. Well, rockfish or well, like white perch are basically mini rockfish, right?
They look very similar. It's hard to say they're not, but I grew up the same way because I lived with my grandparents growing up for majority of my childhood that I could remember, and I mean that's all I did was off the pier fishing or in a kayak, white perch, just basic,
Yeah.
spin fishing with little ultralights and you know the basics. But that's how it started, and it just kind of went from there. Just and it's
So
been
like,
a journey.
what made you go that route to be like, I want to do more fishing? Did you just love it and
I I
what happened?
definitely had I mean I definitely had it, in my hand as soon as I grew up. So as soon as I was able to
Gotcha.
walk and everything like that, I was out there, catching white perch for my grandfather to fry up or, whatever. But it's definitely grew into more of a passion now. I mean, because childhood I really just I caught to cook. So that was like my main thing
Right.
was like, I wanted to go out catch a couple white perch and then, bring it back to my grandparents, cook it up and, have a meal out of it. But it also was, very curious, as a kid, you want to do whatever, try to catch everything in the river.
Yeah, because why
Yeah,
not, right?
exactly. That's all you really have to do. So, um,
Yeah, like that's what I was like when I was younger. Like I just wanted like my uncles used to tell me stories all the time of where like if there was like more than one deer and if they would shoot one and another deer standing there and they'd be like on the radio because we didn't have cell phones back then, they'd be like, "Yeah, there's like two more deer." And I would come on radio and I'm like, "Effing shoot them. What are you guys waiting on?" And they're like, "We already shot it." And I'm like, "We're in here to shoot deer. Why aren't we shooting
yeah,
deer?" So
let's get them all.
yeah, I completely understand that because I used to just love shooting.
Yeah.
So you were talking about wanting or used to cook them, and one of my questions was, do you just do catch and release now, or do you still fish to eat, or how does that work?
It's hard to say really. I mean, I kind of have my go at it. Usually
Mm,
and mostly it's just catch and release. And most of the time I really am just trout fishing. So
okay.
my big thing is brown trout and I try to go after, just whatever, really wild browns or,
Hmm.
stock browns or stock rainbows or but I mean, I don't necessarily take them. I've never really. I've ate trout before in a restaurant, but I've never kind of took it out of the river and cooked it up. But there's definitely people that do it, and I'm just not. I'm not into it per se. I like to catch them, so that's my like sport of it now. But
So
that's
do you
not.
like go out camping and do it?
Yeah, I will go out camping. I just got back from Penns Creek, and that's in I think
Okay.
it's Coburn, Pennsylvania, but it's Central PA. So
Okay.
me and one of my best friends and a couple other guys went out and we just went fishing on Penns Creek and that was awesome. And we just we tented it, roughed it out, and
Hmm.
just went out on the river and kind of got rained on the whole entire time. So that was nice.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Coming back to a wet sleeping bag.
That's probably the first time you've gotten a shower, isn't
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
it?
yes.
So, so when you're out there roughing it, because that's what I like to do. Like that's the camping that I love. When we go, um, We do some which I'm getting into turkey. If you've listened to any of them, like I did 2 podcasts so far, like you know that like I'm terrible at turkey hunting, but I really want to learn. I'm
Eager.
really into it. Yeah, and like deer hunting, I get it. I know what I'm doing. I love it. But at turkey hunting, it's just something that like I want to extend my season, so I want to do it, which is why I want to get into fishing. I want to extend my season even more.
Yeah.
But when we go out to a green ridge, it's there's no electricity, there's no running water. It's just a tent and whatever you have to cook on.
Yeah.
We usually just have the fire. Like I have a tiny griddle. I don't know why I don't take it, but I just enjoy cooking over fire. So if you're doing that, why don't you just be like, hey, let's catch some fish and let's eat some fish.
I do. I will say so the thing that started me on fly fishing was
Mm.
out on the bay catching stripers. So everybody's got like the misconception where like fly fishing's for trout, like you don't fish for any other species of fish but trout. But
I didn't know you could go out in the water like that. I
yeah.
honestly thought it was like a wading fishing. That you just schooled me on that. I had no idea.
So no, that's where it kind of it blew up for me. So one of my buddies that I grew up with in Pasadena kind of got me involved in the fly fishing, game and everything like that. And he was like, I'm catching stripers out on the bay, and I was like, well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So let's do
Yeah,
it.
it does sound like a lot of
So
fun.
that was like summers and summers. My night was just consumed of, going out on my kayak. I rigged my kayak all out for it, and I would just go out with
Really,
lights, and then we just chased the dock lights on the bay. So that was like my thing. And, we'd keep a few nice stripers that we caught that night. But I mean, we'd catch so many our arms would fall off. I'd catch like
really,
40 in a night just by myself. And it would just be as soon as it hit the light, it was just showdown. It was crazy,
really.
nuts. But that was like as soon as that
That sounds so much
happened,
fun.
yeah, as soon as that happened, it was like that was it for me. I was like, I put down like the spinning rod, I put down all that stuff. I was like, I'm just I want this. Like this is like the trying to
Yeah,
like this is what I want to chase. This is crazy.
that's for so the thing that kind of like reminds me of like what I know because I don't know fishing is gun hunting versus bow hunting.
Yeah.
I yeah, it, like gun hunting's fun. Like I do it every now and then. Like I take my gun out like twice a year, 3 times a
Yeah.
year. But taking a bow out and
It's different.
shooting yeah, man, shooting a 150 pound animal with a stick and a string
Yep.
is so much cooler and so much more gratifying than taking a gun out.
And that's
Like
very,
if
I
I had to
think I would
choose,
point that very similar to the basis
okay,
of like fly fishing and, I guess like conventional fishing. I think it's very,
right,
I mean, a lot more people do bow hunt. So it's kind of like, I think a lot of
yeah,
people kind of adapted on that before they did anything with, the fly fishing took off. But it's
hmm
still kind of growing. So it's not to say that it won't blow up or, you know,
well, at Bass Pro, they have a whole entire fly fishing shop,
yeah, they do.
and that's been there for forever. Do you
It's been
know
there
a
for a while.
Larry Coburn?
Larry Coburn.
Have you heard of his
Um,
name?
does he work there?
He used to work there when I was
Coburn.
there, but like apparently he was like the biggest like
I'm
fly fisherman in Maryland, or I don't know.
I'm thinking because I've talked to a bunch of guys over the year. It does sound familiar, but it might just because that's just the place that I went to a couple weeks ago was Coburn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
um,
Maybe that's why I said Coburn. Maybe his name wasn't that, but I mean, I'm pretty sure his name is Larry Coburn or Colburn.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember now. I wish my friend Mario was here with me because he actually he had dated Larry's daughter for like 6 or 7 months. So how old are you when like that all changed for you? Because you're how old now?
I'm 24 now.
24 now. When did it? When did you say, okay, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is what I really enjoy doing. How old were you when that happened?
I'd like to say Um, because I'd like to date it back because when it really took off for me, like where the sport of fishing just kind of took off for me was bass fishing. And that was like bass fishing kind of like encapsulated me for a very long time. And then it kind of took into like tournament fishing and stuff like that, like little like
Yeah,
bank tournament fishing. And then if I could, grab a boat with a buddy, I'd do like little like reservoir like little tournaments. Um, but I would do that through, I was like 17 is when I started doing that. And I think
right.
I did that for like maybe 3 or 4 years. So I'd like to say I was like 20 or 21 is when I really got into fly fishing. It was like when I really put down everything and then just jumped into that.
Gotcha.
So it's
Well, if you,
it's been for a couple years.
yeah, um, if you ever do like any of those like tournaments or anything,
Yeah.
let me know because I would love to just go and just drink beer with you and learn some stuff from you.
No, they're definitely fun. Colombia has a ton of them.
Mm,
And I
really?
think it's just because they have all of the lakes there, like Lake Elkhorn and Lake
Yeah.
Centennial. Um, but they have a couple more, and they always host tournaments. I forgot me and one of my friends from high school used to get into it a bunch and do all those tournaments. But they're like, first time sign ups. You can just go right in there, and there's no like, you got to qualify for
Really?
anything. It's like anybody can fish. Yeah, it's pretty fun. But it's a
That's
lot of
that's awesome.
a lot of bank walking. It might need a bicycle. Ride around
Yeah, I want to get I'm still want to get one of those e-bikes or those e-cats.
for the
What are they called?
woods.
E-cat. Well, they're just I mean, you can use them for the woods, but oh, the quiet cat. That's what it is. The quiet cat's an e-bike,
Okay.
so it's just super quiet. But
Sure.
it's like an all-terrain electric bike. That's what I want to get. They're like they're like 3 grand though. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
The regular one
Well,
with just the pedals might be all right.
I mean, yeah, but I don't want to pedal, man. I mean, come on. Like, look at me. Do you really think I want to pedal? No. My wife did tell me last night because we recorded a podcast last night, but she she said to me because I said like there's a lot of things I just still need because
Yeah.
everything I have is geared towards deer, and I said there's a lot of things that I need because I want to be a better outdoorsman, and she said, well, just get whatever you need, and I was like, well, Kate, there's a lot of things that I need because anything I want, I need. That's just how it
Yeah.
is. Like, well, that's
I'm
what I
uh
tell her.
I'm the same way, and it's so hard because like my girlfriend has the same problem, me going in a Bass Pro Shop, where I like to go to Tackerman's in Baltimore.
Hmm.
And if you haven't been there, I would definitely check them out. They're an awesome
Really?
shop, awesome fishing
Okay.
shop. They have an upstairs and a downstairs. It's like an old school, like it's like they've they're like the oldest or the oldest standing family owned business like that, like in Maryland
Really?
maybe or something like that. But they're really really
That's
cool
crazy.
people. They have a bunch of cool stuff and they have a ton of fly stuff. So like what Bass Pro Shops has, they probably have 3 or 4 times the amount of that fly.
Really?
Yeah, that whole fly fishing section. It is
Wow.
incredible. So that's been the thing, and it's like I'm picking out like these little packs of hooks because I tie my own flies and everything. So like these little
Yeah.
packs of hooks, and then a couple feathers, and then some fur, and like I'm throwing them in the cart, and it doesn't look like much, but once I get to the catcher's there, it's like rings out, and it's like $300. I got like a little basket of stuff. I'm like, oh my god.
That's why you have another job
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we all make fun of you. Like we're like, dude, you work for Northrop Grumman, you do okay, and you're like, yeah, but I
Yeah.
get it now.
Fly
I get it
fishing is
because I
expensive.
still do, dude. I still do side jobs.
Yeah.
Like I still do stuff with like Hysteria, like the old brewery that I work for. Like I still do that because it's an extra couple $100 here and there, and 98% of it goes to hunting, and the other goes into like I just bought this new microphone, and I bought like a uh, a mixer. So
And
like
you can do cool stuff like that out of your budget, because you
yeah,
have the extra means of doing it.
it's
I
just
like it.
a little bit extra money. But you work your butt off, man. You do construction. Like that's crazy.
Um,
And then you come and work nights.
I've taken a break from it for a little
Oh
bit.
well, good.
So I maybe I think it was 2 months ago. I finished my job because the whole thing was that my dad started a company and
Okay.
he took on a couple jobs and he was kind of like undermanned. So he was like, you know, could you help me? Like I'll help you out. On the other hand, just could you help me out for this? So I was like, yeah, I'll take on this job, and it wound up being like a massive job. So I kind of
Uh,
got stuck there for a while, but
got you.
it it got done. So as soon as I was able to do it and finish it, I was like, I'm taking a little break for a little bit.
I'm kind of
Yeah, I'm gonna
yeah, because
cut
I
it
remember
out.
one day you texted me. You were like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a little late," and you like napped in the car, and I was because Matt told me, and I was like, "I don't blame you, dude. Like,
Dude,
there's before I come in, I nap all the time,
yeah,
so I totally get it.
no, it
Night
was a
shifts
couple
and stuff, man.
naps in the truck.
Yeah, yeah.
That's for sure.
Nights. I mean, me being 38 going on 39 with three kids,
Oh yeah,
it is really tough working
yeah,
nights.
it is tough. It's tough now with
But
right now with just me working nights.
yeah, I, I mean, I'm a night guy, so like it wouldn't bother me if I didn't have the family. But at the same time, like there's not a lot of you kind of do lose like your social life a little bit.
Yeah,
Like last year with hunting, I didn't go nearly as much as I used to because I was going into work when I would usually be going out hunting.
yeah.
So there's nothing I could really do. So which is why I'm excited to go to the other shift. Like I know I said to like everybody else because nobody else understands this, but I think you would. I I took the other job because I wanted like it was the pay raise, it was first
Yeah,
shift, it was, but I can work from home 2 days a week, which is huge for kids and hunting,
100%.
and I get to hunt again,
Yeah.
and it's amazing because me and my cousin were talking about this on like I think the first podcast, like how many decisions that I base um things off of hunting,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you do the same thing for fishing.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things you probably wouldn't have done if you weren't a fisherman,
100%. I
which is crazy.
yeah, the one of the big things was like every year for Outer Banks, my family would do a big trip in Outer Banks, and it was like Outer Banks is like the mecca of like my like childhood. I was like, yeah, like we're going to Outer Banks to catch whatever I want. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
like, there's so much fishing down there, and that's all you can do, other than sit on the beach and drink. But you can sit on the beach and drink while you fish, so like you might as well fish. But
Yeah,
that was like
it's very true.
our trips. Like I would have to bring a trailer because then I would have to bring a kayak, and then I have all my rods and my coolers and stuff like that. And it was just like right fishing. And if I didn't fish, I wouldn't even have to have a trailer, but I did it anyways.
Right,
Just give
right.
myself a headache for no reason.
Well, the reason is
Yeah,
because
to
fishing.
fish. Yeah, to fish.
Like I mean, but there's and to me, that's that makes total
Yeah.
sense. But to some people, it doesn't. Like they're probably thinking like these two guys are crazy,
No,
but
I totally,
we're
because
not.
sometimes I think about on some of the stuff that I do, and I'm like, I was crazy doing that, and I was like, I did it, so I don't know why, like I'm even, I'm even bothered by it.
Right,
But you know,
right. It happens.
I mean, I had an instance in Outer Banks where I was totally involved with shark fishing. I was younger, and I was like, that was like
That
all
sounds
I wanted to
awesome.
do. So I had my kayak and all rigged, so I was like watching all the videos of like everybody on Instagram like kayaking their bait all the way out. You know what I mean, with a big tuna rod
Yeah.
and like getting hooked up on something massive. So I'm out there like at night and I'm like paddling my bait out and like I'm like
Okay.
trying to get past the waves and stuff. And I'm like, this is nuts. And then I get out there past the waves and I'm like, it's like totally quiet. And I was like, that scared me the most. Like it wasn't even the waves. I was like, once I got past the waves and everything was quiet and I couldn't see anything, I was like, God,
just how eerie.
this is so
Yep.
scary. And I got a bloody bait trailing me on my
Yeah.
tail, and I'm like, why did I even
Yep.
do that? But it was like
Yeah.
as soon as I was able to paddle back in, my rod was screaming, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like going nuts. But
So you end up catching something then.
they always break me. They always break me. I can never get them in.
So that's what's so funny. Like, I didn't realize that with like, well, I didn't realize that like people did a lot of night fishing. Like I've seen bow fishing and people do it at night, but it is funny like being out there and how dark and how quiet it is
Yeah.
because uh, when you're in the woods and it's pitch black and there's nothing, and all of a sudden you hear like something walking up on you. It could be a squirrel.
Yeah.
It could be a little Tweety bird, but I don't know what it is. In my mind, it's a monster.
Yeah,
It's gonna
it's
kill
a
me.
bear.
It's terrifying. Yeah, yeah, like it's terrifying. And for you, you might be out there completely silent, and you hear a splash, and that splash sounds way bigger than it
And it
really
could really
is.
just be a
And you're
bait
like,
fish.
it's a shark.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But in your mind, you're like, is that a shark? Did I see a fin? And all of a sudden, you're like terrified. Jaws comes up and eats you and the kayak all in one gulp. Can you imagine that? You probably have imagined that.
Yeah. Some of the dark thoughts
All
while
right.
you're out there.
Oh yeah, dark thoughts happen. Okay, so I was going to ask you where you went regularly, but it sounds like you go uh, down there. Is that where you usually
Um
go for like your trips or?
so I so I've been trying to do this thing like where I'm trying to take trips kind of like out of because I usually go to Gunpowder when fishing because I'm usually on like the whole trout fishing right now. Right now I'm kind of so right now is about like the time where I kind of switch and I start going for bass, fly fishing for bass and fly fishing for stripers and stuff like that. With season, starting up and going, and I kind of like leave the trout behind, and then I fish for them like during the colder months, and I'll get out there in January, February, and 15 degrees, and I'll go out fishing. It doesn't matter. But right now is when I'll start doing bass, and then that'll basically take me all the way up until they leave or don't want to bite no more, and then I'll go right over there and start fishing for trout again. But it's been I took a trip to Montana, and I just took a trip to PA. I do a lot of trips to we do a lot of trips to Florida. So I just try to try to catch whatever I can grab in the canals or anything like that. I haven't gone on any
Right.
kind of like guided, expedition down there for, like tarpon or, like bonefish or permit. Um, but it's definitely later, future events. So we'll see.
Yeah. So what would? Oh, I think you're breaking up.
Oh,
Do you hear me?
yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Well, your video's gone. I'm sure it'll come back.
Good.
Um. So when you went to Montana, was that like a camping trip or
No,
did you stay in like a cabin or what'd you do out there?
we actually Airbnb'd. Me and three of my other
Okay.
buddies. We rented an Airbnb in Bozeman, and we flew into Bozeman, and I think we stayed there for 5 days. Yeah, I believe 5 days, and we just kind of we fished around there. We did some traveling actually with the car. That rental car got us pretty far, so we took that on like some
Right.
probably like some 2 hour drives up into the mountains to try to get to like
Jeez.
some spots that like one of the local shops was ranting and raving about. So like we kind of fished that little section, but there's so much. That was an incredible trip, but there's so much water there. It's you wouldn't fish it there in your lifetime, so it's like you got to go back. It's always like
Yeah.
a
Oh
you got
yeah.
to get back thing. It's ridiculous.
My my friend lives in a Bozeman. His name is Ben, and I think we were talking about this, but Meat Eater,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
based out of right out of Bozeman, or like right next to Bozeman. But my friend lives in Bozeman, Montana,
Oh, no shit.
and yeah, like I would love to go out there. Yeah, yeah, like I would love to go out there. He invited me out to go to do some different kind of hunting out there,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that the fishing was that good. So I'm just gonna be like, hey, while we're out here hunting, let's go fishing,
And it's year round.
and maybe I'll catch something.
Yeah.
Is it really? So
So
there's no like seasons out there?
no, for the trout out there, I believe I'm not. I won't quote it because I'm not sure about Montana, but I believe you can fish for the. You can at least fish for them year round. I don't know if you can like
Really?
take them out of the river year round, and eat them, but I know I'm pretty sure that you can fish for them year round there, and
I want to go out there.
they're cold water fish, so. They like cold water. They'll die in warm
Yeah,
water. They're not like bass. They don't heat up when
that's
it gets
crazy.
hot. Different type of fish.
Huh.
Different type of fish. But
So so what's your dream fishing trip?
I don't know. It's so hard because I mean, I guess a dream fishing trip. Like I want to go after like an attainable one, but I mean, I really want to go to the Seychelles. um, it's off.
Where's that at?
It's off the coast of South Africa. It's a
Oh
little
wow. Okay.
chain. It's a little chain of islands, and they have the GT. So it's a giant trevally. It's called, but they call it a GT, and it's
Okay.
supposedly it's like a fly fishing trophy fish, but
Okay.
they're like those saltwater pound for pound like hardest fighting fish, and like they hammer like they eat birds off the top of the water, like
Oh
they
my
go nuts.
god.
Yeah, some of these Yeti has some really 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 good edited videos of of videos where they go to like the Seychelles and all that crazy stuff, and they get on
Really?
GTs. It's nuts, but it looks ridiculous, and that's kind of like it's kind of like a juiced up steroided striper that just wants to murder everything. So it sounds like a really good time.
So what kind of fly do you use for that? Like, I mean, if they're eating birds, do you make one that looks like a bird?
They have them, like anything
Do
anything
they? Oh
anything
wow.
you can imagine. And really, I didn't understand. I actually just learned something myself when I went to Pennsylvania. um
Hmm.
I didn't know how big like the mousing game was in the fly fishing world. um but
When you say mousing, you mean like they tie mice?
like a fly that's imitating a mouse, and it's supposedly
Yeah.
they go out and
Okay.
they fish for brown trout at night with a mouse. And big brown trout like are just like known to like be more active at night, but they'll destroy a mouse. And
Wow.
that's one of their bigger food sources when like when they get to a bigger point, their food source is only like little small rodents and other trout, so they become like a carnivorous creature. But yeah, you would tie for the
That's so
GTs, you
crazy.
would tie just massive flies, just massive, bait
That's
fish,
crazy.
representations, or
Yeah.
whatever. But anything that would piss them off or get their attention. But
So now walk me through tying a fly. Like, just like step by step. What's your thought process? What are you doing?
so
Why are you doing it?
um so I'll take you down to like I have a few. So I'll take you down because the biggest, and I'll say like everyone thinks it is like the one number one thing you gotta have in your box, and here's like a simple version of it, and it's this. So this is called I don't know if you can see it too good. It's called a clouser.
Yeah, yeah.
So this was the biggest thing for me. So this is what I started tying. And that's like the best, like number one striper fly that you can tie. And so this is all bucktail. So all of this
Oh,
hair
really?
is
Like real bucktail?
real bucktail. So and then you have
Wow. Okay.
it's a lead dumbbell eye. Or you can get like a tungsten or like like a steel, but um you get a dumbbell eye. So what you do is you start the hook. So you start off with just a bare hook, and then once you get a bare hook in the vise, like you have your own little vise that you crank down on, so the hook doesn't stab you in the finger every time. But you'll crank down and you have a
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's like it's a bobbin, so it's kind of hard to explain, but it holds the thread. So you'll just start wrapping the thread back. So you're starting off with your hook. You get some thread on there, and you start wrapping some thread on the hook, and just enough so you'll catch your loose end of thread. Um, you keep tying back, and then you work yourself into the dumbbell. Tie your dumbbell on, and then you'll work two colored pieces of, or you can work one. I mean, I sometimes I just do all white or whatever it is, but so you'll tie once you tie your dumbbell on.
Are the eyes on the dumbbell?
Yeah, so the eyes, they're just painted eyes on there. And that's all they
Oh, okay,
are.
okay, okay.
So once you work your dumbbell eyes down, then you start cutting out, a pretty decent, length of deer hair, and just lay it right on there. Usually I lay the back on first, and then tie the white down all the way right here, and then you work your head in with the other colored deer hair on the top. So, um, this just replicates like any kind of bait fish in the bay, but it'll ride with hook up. So the dumbbell eyes kind of catch it like that, and you know, really, really,
Okay.
really, really effective. But there's so many more flies that are out there. It's crazy to even start about naming them all.
I gotta get into it. Like I really do.
It's a lot of fun, and I will say it's at least for at least for sight fishing and stuff like that. When it comes to fly fishing, it's so much like a stalking hunty vibe. Like
Really.
when you creep up on these fish and stuff like that, they're especially trout, when they might be like 90 yards up, and you see like a nice fish explode up there, and he's like maintaining that hole, or that part of like the stream, and then you try to creep up behind him as close as you can to get a cast out, and it's like you're going so slow, like you might stop for a while, or try to like just get up right behind them without spooking them. But they're really, really smart fish, especially brown trout. Brown trout are incredibly smart.
It just sounds fun.
It's it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, like yeah, and it's funny because like you're saying all this stuff, and like I went out to a Green Ridge. I didn't go this year just because we had the baby,
Yeah,
but the last 2 years, um, it's so like last year it was me, my cousin, and my brother, and we went on like these streams where like uh, they're not streams, they're like it's a giant river,
yeah.
and they were like, yeah, like everything's been stocked. Man, we didn't even get a bite. Things are like jumping in front of me. I cast, and then I just started drinking
They're picky.
because
They're picky.
nothing's there. Man, I had like the little trout balls. I was like, "Oh, let me toss this on real fast," because I was like fishing other things, so I just like put the trout ball on there, and I was like, "Yeah, these things stink."
Yeah.
And then you get them out there, and then you're like, "What am I doing?" Like we haven't caught one, dude. Like not one
I don't
fish.
know if you can. Yeah, I don't
Nothing.
know if you can still see the picture, but these are some of. So
No. It literally just went away again.
oh no shit. Mm. But
Yeah,
like
I can hear you
some
perfectly.
of
Oh, there. I see your face
all
now,
right, so these are like
but it's. Oh yeah, I can see
these
it.
are some of my trout flies, and they're small, like compared to my finger. Like you can see kind of how small they are. But these are like theirs are all they're all dry flies. So they sit on the top of the water, and they're not gonna sink. There's another so they refer to the wet flies. They're called. They're also called nymphs, and they're actually like they're weighted. They sink down,
Yeah, I heard
and
that.
like they'll replicate like aquatic insects or like larvae, like kind of stuff like that are in the river, or
Yep.
like I don't know, maybe some other like little freshwater shrimp or whatever they want to call it, worms. But there's there's so much there's so much to learn. I've definitely haven't even learned it all. I've barely even scathed the top of everything that's to be learned about this sport.
Oh yeah, man.
It is nuts.
That's what's fun because a lot of these, like with hunting and fishing, like you could fish your entire lifetime and
But you don't
still
know it all.
learn something new every single
Yeah,
day,
it's I
which is so cool.
constantly, and I feel like I'm constantly indulged in like trying to find out like what to do something, or like a better thing to use, or a better spot to go, or better tactics to use on the river. And it's
Yeah,
like it never stops. Like you never get to that point where you're like, I'm the best, or like I'm good enough, or it's just
yeah.
it really is an addiction. And it just
I love it, man. Like fishing is one thing I want to get into so bad, and it's exciting. Like hearing how excited you are about it, like really is like okay, I need to do this because like you sound like, I mean, you definitely are super passionate about it, and I I want to do it. Like I want to learn more, and that's why I want to have like that's why I want to have you on because we were talking about it at work, and I was like, dude, let's just actually talk about this because this is really cool, and I have a couple of friends that do it. I'm like,
yeah,
man, I gotta do more fishing. Like I
it
really do.
it's
But
awesome.
my last question, it is. So my last question is, which is what I ask everybody. What's the scariest moment that you had? Not like, not scary as in that you. I mean, you can talk about that too. Like if you almost like capsized or
Yeah.
something, but you like kind of talked about it. You kind of talked when you were like getting over the waves and you were sitting there and it was like eerily quiet. But is there like a time where like you're like, oh my god, like I'm I'm either going to be attacked by I, I'm being haunted right now.
Yeah.
Were you around a campfire when something happened? Were you at camp, or were you like on the water where you were like, okay, that's effing freaky? You ever had one of those moments before?
Um, I will say I've definitely had a couple. I definitely had some some terrible bad moments out there. It happens all the time. But I think
What's the scariest one where you were like, dude?
one of my worst ones was I used to have a bass boat. I had a 17-foot skeeter, and that was like my pride and joy. So that was like me and my buddy, we'd go out there fishing all the time, and it would just be it'd just go out on the Magathy and catch white perch, or go out there and catch stripers, or whatever it be. But um we went out there, and I think we were trying to gun it to like Bodkin Creek or something like that. So I shouldn't have taken my 17-foot skeeter in the bay, but I did anyway, and I banged it up in the bay pretty bad, and I
Yeah.
knocked one. I knocked
Wow.
my live well intake off, so the thing that feeds the water in my live well, and the hose came off. And with a bass boat, it's
Oh,
totally encapsulated on the top, so you can't really see what's going down like mechanically on the bottom. So we're just doing our thing, trying to get to our
really?
spot, and I feel the boat going slower and slower and slower in the bay, and next thing you know, like finally, came to the conclusion it was water coming in from the plug, but we couldn't find it at that point. We found it was like under it was a plug that was under my my gas tank, so I couldn't even reach it. My gas tank
Oh
was
dang.
huge, so it was like we were shit out of luck. But I tried to gun it as much as I could to try to get the water pushed out, and we had made it into Bodkin Creek, but I was sitting in the console while I was doing it, and the water was pushed up over the battery terminals, and that's when it started electrocuting us.
Oh my god.
So we were standing like on the tips. Yeah,
What?
it was electrocuting us because it was over the battery terminals in the boat, and we were standing up on the seats of the bass boat, just literally just trying to get it on to the beach somewhere, and we finally ended up beaching it. But that was it was a nightmare. Me and my buddies still talk about it all the time.
So not only were you sinking,
Yeah.
you were getting electrocuted while you were
Yeah.
sinking.
It was the most nuts thing.
I mean,
We were like I felt it first, and I was like, holy
yeah.
shit. And the next thing you know, my buddy Nate right next to me, he's like, oh my god. And we're just trying to make it home.
You're like, we're gonna die.
I was like, I'm not trying to sit this boat
Oh
in
my
the middle of
god.
the canal. Yeah, I'd like to get it home. But it was
Dude.
we winded up beaching it and getting it. We had drug it a couple houses down to one of my friend's house that actually lived on the Bakken, and I was able to pull it up his jet ski ramp and back my trailer down in there, and it took like 7 or 8 people to get the waterlogged boat onto the trailer. It was, and then I took the boat to the
Jesus,
I
man.
took the boat to the dump shortly after that because it was
Oh,
waterlogged.
you were like, I'm done.
Everything was waterlogged. It was like all the
Oh wow,
foam.
really?
It was an older boat, and it was like to put the money to put in would have been not worth it. It wouldn't have even been worth it. It was a trash.
Dude,
Yeah,
that actually is the scariest story.
that was a tough one. And then
Like
letting go
that's
of the boat was tough
yeah,
too.
like that's legitimately
Yeah, it
terrifying.
was a heartbreaking story.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean all around.
yeah, that was
Almost drowned, almost sinks to the bottom of the canal, get electrocuted the entire time, and had to lose
yeah,
the
and
boat.
I'm always good with life jackets and safety and stuff.
I mean, when you say that, I don't think I believe you at all in any
Yeah.
way, like at all.
So, um,
Oh
but that
man,
was that was
dude,
fun.
we gotta go out fishing one time.
We definitely do.
Yeah,
Definitely do.
let me know when you're going out. I would love to just tag along
I would love
and just learn, learn from Master
it.
Noah.
I'd hardly call myself that.
I'll be your apprentice. Well, I'll be your apprentice. How about
All
that?
right. Yeah.
Regardless, you just teach me. I just want to learn, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Awesome.
man, well, dude, I appreciate it. Don't sign off yet, but because we have to have everything upload when we're done. But thank you for coming on. I know it was a little bit later,
I appreciate it.
but yeah, my kids were I had to get my kids to bed, so dude, that was fun.
I love
But yeah, well, I'll see you at work tomorrow for sure. Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.